So every year we do Turk of the Year, and you guys voted this year, and again, your voting was excellent. So I'm going to give you the top 6, and then we'll see if we agree at the end on the person who won. Coming in at number 6 was Robert Mueller, and so a lot of people are excited about Robert Mueller. And so far, what he has done is seemingly put together a very professional operation as special counsel, and don't think, hey, well, nothing's happened yet. That's what a lot of people think. Are you kidding me? There's been, what, 50 indictments and 4 guilty pleas from people very close to Trump, including his campaign manager and people in his administration, his national security advisor. So he came in 6th this year. He might come in number 1 next year. Okay, but we'll see how that goes. But for now, he has not revealed all of his findings. Seems a fairly appropriate place for him. Number 5, I look, you guys put it there, and thank you. And I know it's the Young Turks audience, so obviously it's skewed there, but it gives me great pride to say is Justice Democrats. And so we started this 2 years ago, and we featured a lot of the candidates on the Young Turks and on Rebel Headquarters, which is part of the TYT network. Their names were Ilhan Omar, Ayanna Pressley, Rashida Tlaib, and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And also, very importantly, Ro Khanna, who was incredibly brave in coming out and being the first incumbent to say that he's a just Democrat and that he would support primarying his colleagues. You have no idea what kind of courage that took. And Pramila Jayapal and Raul Grijalva. So now they are in the House, and they start in a couple of days, and they've already done amazing things and put things on the agenda that were not there before. And in a lot of ways, you guys, through your support of them, volunteering for them, donating to them, small dollar donations, they don't take any corporate PAC money, you made a giant difference.
Did you read John Nichols today? And so
I didn't know.
John Nichols wrote a piece in The Nation. I think he gave like his Progressive of the Year awards, and Ro Khanna was in there for like sitting congressman, but those 4 were in there, and he wrote about the Justice Democrats.
Oh yes, sorry, I did see that. No, he said Ro Khanna was the most valuable member of the House.
Most valuable member of the House.
Look, I gotta.
And those 4 women were like the Progressives of the Year. I mean, they won and he wrote about the Justice Democrats.
So, Ro, you guys don't necessarily know, but behind the scenes took an enormous amount of heat. So in Washington, to say, yeah, you should not take corporate PAC money, and if you do, you should be primaried. I mean, that is sacrilege. And they said, oh, you know, what kind of a guy is this? And they said, oh, he's not fit to be a leader. He's not fit to this, et cetera. And all the abuse that he took, but he stood strong. And now, I mean, look at what he did. He teamed up with Bernie Sanders and got pay raises for everybody at Amazon. It was 350,000 people. He's been the leading fighter to get us out of Yemen. So I don't remember if he was in the Turk of the Year finalist last year. I think he was, and that's the year that he came out as a Just Democrat. So Just Democrats overall are in the finalists here, but I think Ro does deserve a special shout out. He's been fighting for progressive values all throughout, and he lived it, right? And now that's a leader. We were talking in the Jerk of the Year about people who went along with Donald Trump just to maintain power. Ro Khanna did not do that. He did not go along with the people in power. He fought for us and made a huge difference.
And he has a very cool name.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Ro Khanna is a badass name. I remember when last year when he announced on the Young Turks that he was going to be a Just Democrat, I asked him, will you be our champion? And he said yes. Mm-hmm. And he's got a Game of Thrones kind of name. Right?
He does, yeah.
Makes sense. And so number 4 is March for Our Lives. And absolutely, man, those kids, game changer. We talked about it earlier in this special that we're doing live tonight about Cameron Kasky challenging Marco Rubio on live television. Will you give up the NRA money? Will you give up the NRA money? But all of them, Emma Gonzalez and David Hogg and all, those rallies that they did, the speeches, and saying enough is enough. How many massacres will it take for you to take action? And it took those kids to actually jar the media, politicians, etc. Unfortunately, money in politics is incredibly strong, and they were so astute. They didn't just fight on gun violence. They focused in on money in politics. They're like, that's the only reason. It's 93% of Americans want federal background checks, but we can't get them. The only reason is money in politics, because the NRA drowns them in money. So they're absolute heroes, and that's what we need. We need bottom-up power to rise up that way, and I really think it's going to over the next 2 years. But a shout out to all of them. Number 3 in your voting was Christine Blasey Ford, and so you might wonder, well, okay, so the history brought her to this moment, and she happened to be a sexual assault victim, we believe, and then she was very credible, obviously. Even Donald Trump said she was credible when she first spoke in her testimony. But why is she Turk of the Year among the finalists? Because she had the courage to come out. And she's been hounded and her life threatened over and over again, had to run from her house and ridiculed by President Trump, laughed at by Republicans. It didn't, and her story at the end ignored. But it took tremendous courage for her to come forward. And so for that, I think a lot of people in this country owe her a debt of gratitude for speaking for all of them.
She's a survivor, not a victim.
That's right. And thank you for saying that. And she has survived the initial attack, and now she's surviving this attack.
Twice.
And it's still ongoing. They still haunt her. Coming in number 2, perennial Turk of the Year finalist, and he's won as well, Bernie Sanders. Oh,
good, Hillary won. Good. I knew it. Yeah.
So look, Bernie is a rock. So we're going to do 2019 and 2020. That's coming around the corner. I don't think that's what you guys meant. That's not what we mean. We don't mean like, hey, we want him to win and etc. It's that every year he fights for you. And every year he fights for Medicare for all. He's been doing it for 40 straight years. Every day he fights for $15 minimum wage and college for all. And every year he leads. And you know, we've been, just because it happened today, it's been top of mind. I mentioned it on the show a couple of times today. But New York Times wrote a story that to me, the killer line in it was, well, you know, he has led on all these issues, and now the rest of the Democratic Party and a lot of the leading candidates in 2020 have adopted those issues and now all agree. So that's why he's a victim of his own success. Well, no, that would make him the leader. That would not make him the victim. That doesn't make any sense at all. And so for all of his, strength and leadership in those categories, that's why you guys put him among the finalists, and we agree.
And there have been a lot of people in the resistance, and Trump has been, and Sanders has been, as people on the left will criticize him for, because he's believes the Russia hoax, right? So he is, which I think is wonderful because it's not a hoax. But he has he has proven that you can do 2 things. Mm-hmm. He's proven that you can say, yeah, Mueller should be investigating this because it's a huge thing that happened, and it's but we should also be talking about Medicare for all, and we should also, he's organizing, which we've run. I mean, he has led these town halls on healthcare, and he has rallied support and worked with Mike Lee in Utah to get the Senate in a bipartisan bill to condemn, or at least, I don't know what teeth it has, to stop the U.S. participation in the Saudi war on Yemen. And he has led on issue after issue after issue, when many in the resistance, understandably, have focused solely on criticizing Trump. He has consistently appeared in different places, delivered speeches, appeared on television, appeared here at TYT, and spoken about these seminal issues that he is still speaking about. And I would say that since he struck a similar note throughout the campaign, he has expanded the number of things that he is now discussing, which I think is good.
Yep. So that brings us to the winner. The Turk of the Year, based on your voting, and we at TYT agreed, and I think it was fairly clear, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Puerto Rico! Oh!
And she did a lot of things this year. Obviously, winning was huge. And her victory against one of the top Democrats in the House, Joe Crowley, was stunning to most. If you watched the Young Turks and you saw on air 34 times before the election, you were not as surprised, but it was a wonderful moment. And it made a giant difference because it woke people up. Oh my God, it turns out progressives can win. That you could run on a deeply progressive agenda. You could run without any corporate PAC money. She was outspent 10-1 and she won anyway. And so, look, there's a lot of people that went into that victory. Just Democrats, staff was amazing in helping her. People like Shoykat Chakrabarti, who's now his chief of staff, and Alexandria Rojas and Corbin Trent, and the list goes on and on. But she made the difference. And she wore out her shoes famously, going door to door, and they went and they hit those high rises and they knocked on all those doors, and she organized hundreds of volunteers, and she beat Joe Crowley in the debates, and she won. But when she won, that's when she became, not at that moment, but what she did afterwards made her the Turk of the Year. Because she then didn't rest on her laurels. They said, oh, okay, great. Now, okay, welcome to the club, and now here are the rules of the club. And she's like, not interested. Not interested in your rules and not interested in your club. So here's what we're gonna do instead. I'm gonna lead a protest outside the Nancy Pelosi's office. That's gonna be the Speaker of the House. That's unheard of. It's unheard of. Why am I gonna do it? I'm gonna join these young kids, the Sunrise Movement and Just Democrats, because we're gonna get a Green New Deal. We're gonna fight for it and we're gonna win. And I want that select committee, and we want people who do not take fossil fuel money on that select committee, because that's dirty money. I mean, that challenges all of her colleagues, almost all of them. It's unprecedented, it's unheard of. And so she was willing to take on the powers in the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. Fox News can't stand her. And they do a story about her seemingly every day. And mainstream,
they love her. I mean, it's a chance to.
they love her.
It's fantastic for them. I imagine it's an enemy.
Yeah, but they accidentally help her and us tremendously. My favorite, one of my favorite moments of the year was when Fox News did a segment. They sent a reporter to a rally that she had gone to help other Democrats win after she won her primary, and the reporter came back and said, "She's dangerous because she almost convinced me. She said she was going to give my kids health care. We need health care."
Yeah.
Exactly, right? And so she's gonna keep on fighting for Medicare for all, Green New Deal, $15 minimum wage, college for all, and getting money out of politics. And she proved you could win without it. So it was just an earthquake. And she deserves a tremendous amount of credit and is our Turk of the Year.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, you go.
I totally agree with the decision. I think that she deserves to be Turk of the Year. I think of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez as that small, sunshiny break on a very cloudy day. You know how it's like super cold and cloudy and you're like, the weather sucks, it's miserable. And then all of a sudden it's super bright outside and you're like, what happened? It's like warm and you're feeling nice. That's Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She's that nice sunshiny break on a very cloudy, cold day. And I love the fact that she spills the tea, right? She got in and she immediately started spilling the tea. All the insider stuff that's going on, all of the injustices, she will speak on it, and she'll do so in a way that I think resonates with all Americans, regardless of political ideology. Like the fear mongering about socialism and all that stuff, it's gonna keep happening. The propaganda against her, it's gonna keep happening. But I love how the propaganda always accidentally helps her. Yeah. Like when Hannity ran a segment on her where he was trying to attack her, and he had a giant screen behind him listing all the things that she's fighting for: Medicare for all, free education, and you look at that list, and who's gonna argue with that? Who hates that? The only person who hates that, or only people who hate that, are people like Sean Hannity, who are so fabulously rich that they don't care about those things.
So she took that and put it.
Hold on, let me, because I spent that's what I was looking for the last, but I found it in the article from the Nation today. So they put up radical new Democrat ideas: free college for all, free health care for all, abolish ICE, Green New Deal. And she didn't just, so she replied, Fox News discovered our vast conspiracy to take care of children and save the planet. So one, that's to your point, like but she did that, right? She fights back, and she fights back effectively.
Yes.
And despite what is coming in the onslaught of intense fighting about whether Beto O'Rourke is progressive or not, I'm looking forward to that. We'll lose some more friends, it'll be great. But the one thing that I like from Beto and from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, there is a punchback spirit here that in this group that has not existed before for many on the left. And just that little tweet turned around their little headline and turned it around in an instant about taking care of children and saving the planet. And God bless her for doing that.
She's made people apologize to her. Like one of the conservative women that tweeted her ended up apologizing. But I want to say, when I look at her, there are a couple of things that I cannot ignore. First of all, for a country where so many people didn't know that Puerto Ricans were American.
Yeah.
We have a Puerto Rican woman standing up for all people, but in a time where you don't hear about our island anymore because it's being recolonized for the third time, and it's being such a horrible tragedy that took place there, our people could really use a morale boost. And I think that she is that ray of sunshine that is not just on this cloudy day, but to a people who are still struggling because you don't hear about it on Twitter anymore because the greatest tragedy of the world is the president of the United States. She is someone who built a campaign on seeing people that other people ignored. And she made it very clear that while you guys overlooked, I went and talked to those housekeepers and I went and talked to those people that you don't see, which are the people who make up the very fiber that is America. So as a Puerto Rican woman and as an American, I'm very proud because our people needed that. And our people are the American people. If you didn't know, we are Americans too.
And I just think that also she's 28 years old, right?
Yeah.
Which is part of the criticism against her. Like, I don't know how she
Stop
could
the ageism.
I don't know how she could have helped that.
She's
You know?
28
No, but I
and
love
only a
that
billion times smarter than the president of the United States. Like, let that sink in for a second.
Yeah, I love that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is too young and Bernie Sanders is too old.
Right.
You
Yeah.
just can't.
You can't.
So, but here's
You
what's
can't win.
significant. But she's going to be 28, which means by the time she's 36 years old, she'll have served 4 terms. She's not going to lose, right, in the United States House unless she runs for the Senate or something before then, which is possible if one of those seats opens up in New York. I can think of one that I'd like her to have right now. And then she's gonna be 36, 38 years old, and she'll have been in Congress for 10 years, right? Like if you don't like her conservatives, she's gonna be around for a very, very, very long time. This is not gonna be the only office she runs for. And obviously there will come a time, if she is as serious as it appears that we all think she is, when of course she is gonna be a contender at some point to be the Democratic nominee for president of the United States.
Amen.
Yeah. So, conservatives, you don't like her? Buckle up, brace for impact. You're right, and I'll say one last thing about her. Look, I know that she was offered positions of power and privilege after she won, and those things are incredibly tempting. And she said, no, thank you. And it takes a very rare person to do that. And so what you see is what you get, and that is why a lot of people are energized by her, including us. Ocasio-Cortez, Turk of the Year. Thanks for watching this free clip of the Young Turks. Don't forget to become a TYT member today. For more exclusive content, join now at tyt.com/join.